Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wondered how accurately scientists can measure split-second decisions in the lab? Well, today we're diving into a cool new tool that lets them do just that, with incredible precision. So imagine you are in a psychology experiment. The researchers want to know exactly when a light flashed or when you pressed a button. They need to be super precise, down to tiny fractions of a second, like even faster than a blink of an eye. This is crucial because if the timing isn't perfect, it can mess up the results and lead to wrong conclusions about how our minds work. For a long time, scientists have used a special piece of equipment called the black box ToolKit, or BBTK, for these super accurate timing measurements. It is like a highly sensitive stopwatch and signal recorder all in one. It can detect light, sound, and even special electronic signals with amazing accuracy. But here is where things get tricky. The original software that comes with the BBTK only works on Windows computers. This is a big problem for researchers who use Macs or Linux computers, or for those who want to automate their experiments across different systems. It limits who can use this powerful tool and how easily. That is where our story today really kicks off. A team of researchers decided to build a new set of tools called BBTK v3 to fix this limitation. Think of it as an upgrade, a universal remote control for the BBTK that works on pretty much any computer. They wanted to make it easy for anyone to use the BBTK, no matter their operating system. What does this new BBTK v3 suite actually do? Well, it's packed with useful features. First, it can find the BBTK device automatically, even if it is plugged into different ports. Then it lets scientists adjust the sensitivity of the BBTK sensors. Imagine trying to detect a tiny flicker of light. You need to set the sensitivity just right so it doesn't pick up background light but catches the exact moment the stimulus appears. This suite makes that process much simpler, allowing for automated event capture, which means it can record everything that happens without constant human fiddling. Beyond just capturing data, BBTK v3 also gives researchers an interactive playground, like a command center to directly control the BBTK. And importantly, it comes with a powerful analysis tool. This tool takes all the raw data captured by the BBTK and turns it into meaningful insights. It can tell us how long an event lasted, how consistent the timing of repeated events was, which is what they call jitter, and the delay between different events, like when a stimulus was presented and when the participant responded. The cool thing about how they built this is that it is written in a programming language called Go. This means they can provide these tools as self-contained programs that you can just download and run without needing to install a bunch of other software first. It works on Windows, Mac, and Linux, making it super accessible. And for all you tech-savvy folks out there, the entire project is open source. This means the researchers have shared all their code and instructions online, so anyone can use it, modify it, or even build upon it. It is a collaborative spirit that drives science forward. Let's look at a quick example of how this works in practice. Imagine a researcher setting up an experiment. First, they might use a command like BBTK set thresholds to tell the BBTK how sensitive its sensors should be. They're essentially tuning it to pick up the specific signals they're interested in, like a light flashing on a screen or a sound being played. This calibration step is super important. It is like adjusting your microphone to get the clearest sound and avoid background chatter. They want to make sure the BBTK is only listening for the experimental stimuli. After setting up the sensitivity, they launch the BBTK capture command. This is the core of the recording. They tell it how long to record for, and the BBTK starts listening and recording every signal change on its input lines. These lines can be connected to things like photodiodes that detect light changes on a screen, microphones that pick up sounds, or even electronic triggers from a computer. Once the recording is done, the data needs to be analyzed. That is where the Events Stats tool comes in. It takes the raw data and immediately gives the researcher a summary. It calculates things like how long each stimulus was presented, how consistent the timing of those presentations was, and crucially, the delay between one event and another. This is where the real insights start to emerge. For example, the researchers tested a simple program that flashed a stimulus for 1 frame and then kept it off for 2 frames, repeating this many times. They used the BBTK to precisely measure the duration of those on frames and the time between them. You can see in the output that the detected duration of the on frames was around 37 milliseconds. Now, there is a little note here about a 20 milliseconds addition. This is a fascinating detail about how the BBTK smoothing feature works. Smoothing helps to clean up noisy signals, but it can slightly adjust the measured duration. This highlights the need for researchers to understand these nuances to interpret their data correctly. It is not just about raw numbers, it is about understanding the tools that generate those numbers. Then, the analysis looked at the time between these on frames. what is called the stimulus onset asynchrony or so. This is where we start to see how consistent the stimulus presentation was. The data shows a very low standard deviation, meaning the timing was incredibly regular, around 50 milliseconds between the start of each on-frame, with very little variation. This tells us the stimulus delivery system was working with remarkable precision. Perhaps the most interesting part is the last section, which looks at the delay between a visual stimulus on the screen, detected by Opto1, a light sensor, and a signal sent from the computer just after it supposedly displayed the stimulus. They found a consistent delay of about 39 milliseconds. This is important because it tells us the actual time it takes for the computer to process the command and present the stimulus on the screen, including any display buffering. This kind of precise measurement is what allows psychologists to understand the subtle timings of perception and action. One of the really neat features of this BBTK v3 suite is how it allows synchronization. If you're running the experiment software and the BBTK capture program on the same computer, they can actually work together seamlessly. For example, the BBTK capture tool can even be programmed to launch the experiment itself. Imagine telling the capture program to start recording, and then at the exact moment recording begins, it also starts your experimental program. This creates a perfect synchronized start time for everything. And if the experiment can't be launched directly like that, the BBTK capture program will signal on its screen output exactly when it is ready to start recording. This signal can be picked up by another script that is controlling your experiment, allowing for a very tight synchronization. Looking at the full list of tools available in BBTK v3, you can see it is a comprehensive package. There is BBTK detect port to find the device, BBTK capture to record, BBTK input check to see live sensor data, and tools for adjusting thresholds and smoothing. There is even iBTK, an interactive shell that gives you access to almost all the BBTK's functions, making it like a powerful command center for the device. The technical backbone of this project is the Go programming language. This choice is significant because it allows the creators to build these tools efficiently and ensure they run smoothly across different operating systems. They use the specific library for handling serial communication, which is how the computer talks to the BBTK hardware, ensuring it works reliably on Windows, macOS, and the Linux. And as I mentioned before, it is all open source and available for pretty much any computer you might be using, whether it is a standard Intel processor or an ARM chip. This really democratizes access to high-precision timing measurement. The story of this project is a testament to the power of innovation driven by a specific need. One person, Christophe, conceptualized and built the core of this suite, with some help in later stages to solve a real problem for experimental psychologists. It is a great example of how a well-designed software tool can significantly advance scientific research. So, what does all this mean for us? Well, it means that researchers can now conduct experiments with even greater confidence in their timing measurements. This leads to more reliable findings about how our brains and behaviors work, whether it is understanding reaction times in a gaming study, the precise moment we perceive a change, or how quickly we make decisions. Tools like BBTK v3 provide the bedrock of accuracy. It is like having a superpowered stopwatch for the mind. One of the limitations of any study is the equipment used. While the BBTK itself is very precise, factors like how the sensors are placed or how the software interprets the signals can still introduce tiny variations. The BBTK v3 suite helps by making these adjustments more transparent and controllable, but researchers still need to be mindful of these potential influences. Future research could explore even more sophisticated ways to integrate this timing data with brain imaging techniques or other physiological measures for a more complete picture of cognitive processes. Overall, this BBTK v3 suite is a fantastic example of how open-source development can solve critical problems in scientific research. It makes high-precision timing accessible to a wider range of scientists, potentially leading to a new wave of discoveries about the human mind. What do you think about this breakthrough in timing accuracy for psychology experiments? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into scientific tools, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more breakdowns of fascinating research. We'll see you next time.